Humanity was not the strongest species in the galaxy. At least that was what the older civilizations believed. They thought Earth was still young, still weak, still divided. But the people of Earth knew something different. They knew they had survived wars, disasters, hunger, and every kind of struggle. They knew that when humans were pushed against the wall, they always found a way to rise again. The galaxy discovered Earth by accident. A trader ship from the Valari Empire stumbled into the solar system while trying to escape pirates. That moment changed history. Suddenly, humans were not alone. They saw the stars full of life, but they also saw danger. The Valari ship carried news. The galaxy was not kind. Weak planets were often taken over, and those who could not defend themselves were forced into slavery or silence. Earth was now visible to powers far older and far stronger. At first, the alien empires did not care about Earth. To them, humanity was a small species with fragile ships. Humans had only reached Mars and the moons of Jupiter. Their technology was basic, compared to the empires who had starfleets larger than Earth's entire navy. Some aliens even mocked humans, calling them children with sticks trying to play war. But the leaders of Earth understood something important. If they did not prepare, Earth would become a victim. So the United Earth Council came together. For the first time in history, every nation, every people, and every culture stood under one flag. They called for a project so bold that even their own people doubted it at first. It was named Project Aegis. Project Aegis was not about building another small ship. It was about building something the galaxy had never seen before from a young species. The plan was to create the Star Destroyer, the largest warship humanity had ever imagined. Not a fragile ship that could be swatted down by alien fleets, but a vessel that could defend Earth and send a message to the stars. Humanity will not be conquered. The construction site was chosen carefully. Far away from alien eyes, a secret shipyard was built in orbit around Neptune. This distance gave them time and safety, and Neptune's shadow helped hide the growing structure. Thousands of engineers, builders, and scientists traveled there. They left their homes and families behind, working in silence, often for years without stepping on Earth again. They knew what they were building was more than steel and circuits. It was hope. The work was not easy. At first, the project faced disaster after disaster. Engines failed, metals cracked, and resources were too few. But humans had always been problem solvers. Instead of giving up, they worked harder. When they could not match alien technology, they invented new solutions. When energy was not enough, they turned to fusion drives, creating power like miniature suns. When armor could not stand against alien plasma weapons, they designed new alloys made from rare Earth elements mixed with asteroid metals. Slowly, piece by piece, the impossible became real. Years passed. Entire generations of engineers dedicated their lives to the project. Children who had been born when the first steel beams were placed now worked as junior mechanics on the ship. The Star Destroyer was no longer just an idea. It was a giant in the darkness of space, a shape so large it cast shadows across Neptune's rings. On Earth, people whispered about the ship. At first, it was only a rumor. Then images leaked, showing a massive outline hidden against the blackness of space. Ordinary citizens called it the Guardian of Earth. To many, it became a symbol of unity. People who once fought over borders now stood together, waiting for the day when the Star Destroyer would rise. Meanwhile, the alien empires laughed. Spies reported that humans were wasting their time and resources. The Galactic Council called it a toy project. Some alien leaders even predicted it would explode on its first launch. But they did not understand the human heart. They did not understand that Earth was not just building a weapon, it was building a promise. The commander chosen for the project was Admiral Elias Reyes. He was a man of discipline and vision, respected by soldiers and scientists alike. He often walked the long halls of the half-built ship, speaking with engineers, sharing meals with workers, and reminding them why they were there. "This ship is not for war," he told them. "This ship is for survival. It is for our children and their children. If we must fight, then we fight to protect our home." His words became the soul of the project. Finally, after decades of effort, the day of the first launch came. Every screen on Earth turned toward Neptune. Billions of eyes watched, holding their breath. The shipyards released the locks. The engines roared to life with a power that shook the void. Slowly, like a mountain breaking free from the planet, the Star Destroyer moved. It was not graceful, but it was unstoppable. Gleaming with silver armor, its hull stretched longer than any city on Earth. Rows of cannons and launch bays lined its sides. Its engines burned with a blue light that lit up Neptune's shadow. For the first time, Earth had built something that even the oldest alien fleets would respect. The crowd on Earth erupted in cheers. Workers in the shipyard cried and hugged one another. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge, his hand resting on the command console, and whispered to himself, "Now let them see us." The aliens did see. Across the galaxy, messages spread like wildfire. The humans had done it. Against all predictions, they had built a Star Destroyer. For some, it was a joke turned into shock. For others, it was a warning. And for a few, it was a nightmare. Because now the galaxy understood a dangerous truth. When humans decided to do the impossible, nothing could stop them. The Star Destroyer was not yet tested in battle. No one knew if it could truly stand against fleets of alien warships. But to the people of Earth, that did not matter. What mattered was that they had taken the first step. They had proven that humanity could rise together, that they could match the powers of the stars, and that they would never again be underestimated. As the Star Destroyer completed its first orbit around Neptune, Admiral Reyes sent a simple message to Earth. Project Aegis is alive. Humanity now has a shield. We are ready for whatever comes. And in that moment, under the silent gaze of the galaxy, Earth's story changed forever. The Star Destroyer's first orbit around Neptune had been celebrated across Earth, but the galaxy did not stay silent for long. Some alien empires sent spies curious to see if the ship was truly as powerful as humans claimed. Others dismissed it, saying no young species could build something strong enough to challenge fleets that had ruled the stars for millennia. But not everyone laughed. Among the stars there were predators, raider fleets that survived by attacking young worlds, stealing resources, and enslaving populations. To them, Earth's new ship was not a threat. It was an opportunity. If they destroyed it quickly, humanity would fall back into fear and Earth could be plundered. One such group, known as the Krill Marauders, made their move. For years they had preyed upon unprotected colonies near the Orion Arm. They had fast ships, brutal weapons, and no mercy. Their leader, Commander Veloc, saw Earth as a rich prize. "They build a giant ship to scare the galaxy," he told his captains. "We will burn it before it takes its first breath of war." The Marauders launched 30 warships toward the solar system. They moved with speed, slipping past the edges of alien patrol routes. By the time Earth's early warning stations detected them, it was too late to prepare ground defenses. The only chance was the Star Destroyer. On the bridge of the massive vessel, Admiral Reyes stood in silence as reports arrived. The crew watched him carefully, waiting for his order. Many of them had never seen real combat in space. Some were scientists who had trained to operate engines and weapons but had never faced an enemy. Still, they all understood. This was the moment they had been building toward for decades. Reyes finally spoke. His voice was calm, steady, and full of resolve. "The galaxy is watching us. Our enemies believe we will fail. Today we prove them wrong. Prepare for battle." The Star Destroyer moved out of Neptune's shadow. Its engines burned bright, carrying the ship toward the approaching fleet. Across Earth, billions tuned into the broadcast. They knew that the survival of their world rested on this single battle. When the two forces met near the orbit of Uranus, the Marauders opened fire first. Their ships were smaller but faster, darting like sharks around a whale. Energy bolts flashed across the darkness, slamming into the Star Destroyer's shields. For a moment, the giant vessel seemed to shudder under the storm. Then humanity struck back. Railguns the size of skyscrapers fired projectiles at near-light speeds. Each round tore through a Marauder ship like paper, leaving fire and wreckage behind. Energy cannons blazed across the void, their beams bending around enemy shields designed by human scientists who had studied every alien weakness. The Star Destroyer fought not like an old empire, but like something entirely new, fierce, unpredictable, and relentless. The crew worked together as if they were one mind. Engineers rerouted power to weapons. Pilots guided smaller defense drones to shield weak points, and gunners fired with precision born from endless hours of training. Even those who were afraid did not hesitate. They remembered Admiral Reyes's words, "This ship is for survival." One by one, the Marauder ships fell. Explosions lit the darkness, scattering debris across the battlefield. But the enemy was not broken yet. Commander Veloc ordered his fleet to swarm the Star Destroyer, hoping to overwhelm it with numbers. The giant vessel was hit again and again, its shields flickering under the assault. For a moment it looked as if the marauders might break through. On the bridge, alarms blared. Systems failed. Smoke filled the air. Yet Reyes did not waver. He turned to his officers and gave the command that would change the battle. Full power to the fusion drives. Bring us into their formation. The crew hesitated. To charge directly into the enemy seemed reckless. But they obeyed. The Star Destroyer's engines roared and the massive ship surged forward with a burst of speed that shocked even its own crew. The marauders had never seen such a maneuver from a vessel of this size. Instead of sitting still like a fortress, the Star Destroyer fought like a predator. It crashed into the heart of the enemy formation, weapons blazing in every direction. Entire lines of marauder ships broke apart as the Star Destroyer's cannons fired at point-blank range. Missiles streaked through the chaos, striking targets with devastating force. The battle was no longer a hunt. It was a storm, and the humans were the center of it. Panic spread through the marauder fleet. They had expected a slow, clumsy ship. Instead, they faced a war machine that fought with the creativity and desperation of a species that refused to die. Commander Valak's own flagship came under fire. Shields shattered and hull plates peeled away. In his last transmission, his voice was filled with disbelief. This is not possible. They are only humans. Moments later, his ship was destroyed. The remaining marauders fled, scattering into the stars. The battle was over. The Star Destroyer emerged from the wreckage, scarred but standing. Its shields were weak, its armor burned, and many systems had been damaged. But it had survived, and it had won. On Earth, cheers erupted across every city. People poured into the streets, waving flags, hugging strangers, crying with joy. For the first time, humanity had not just defended itself, it had defeated a force that even other alien civilizations feared. On the bridge, Admiral Reyes looked out at the field of wreckage. His crew cheered around him, but he remained quiet. He knew what this meant. The galaxy would never ignore humanity again. The Star Destroyer had passed its test of fire, but now Earth would face something even greater, the attention of empires who would see them as rivals, not children. Still, he allowed himself a small smile. They wanted to see if we could fight, he said softly. Now they have their answer. The Star Destroyer turned its engines toward Earth, carrying the story of its first victory home. Across the galaxy, messages spread quickly. The humans had stood against 30 ships and won. The old empires whispered in surprise, some in fear. And in hidden councils, powerful voices began to ask a dangerous question. If this is what humans can build now, what will they build next? The battle near Uranus was over. The wreckage of the Krill Marauder fleet drifted silently, glowing faintly from the fires that still burned in the void. Earth's first Star Destroyer had survived, and its victory echoed across the galaxy. News traveled faster than light, carried by traders, spies, and listening stations. Within days, every empire, every council, and every world knew what had happened. A young species, thought too weak and too divided, had destroyed 30 warships with a single vessel. It was not only victory, it was a warning. On Earth, the people celebrated for weeks. Cities lit up the night sky with fireworks. Families who had lost loved ones in past wars wept with pride, knowing their sacrifices had not been in vain. Children wore shirts with the Star Destroyer's image printed on them, calling it the Guardian of Earth. For the first time, humanity felt truly united. They were not just Earthlings, not just divided by nations. They were humans, protectors of their world, ready to stand together. But the celebration did not blind everyone. In the halls of the United Earth Council, leaders met to discuss what came next. Victory had bought them respect, but it had also drawn attention. The old empires would not ignore this. Some might seek alliances, while others might plan to crush humanity before they grew any stronger. The Council knew that Earth was no longer hidden in the shadows of space. They were on the stage now, and the galaxy was watching closely. Admiral Reyes returned to Earth as a hero, but he did not bask in glory. Standing before the Council, he gave a speech broadcast across the planet. The Star Destroyer has proven what humanity can do when we stand as one. But let us remember, this ship is not a weapon of conquest. It is a shield. We did not build it to dominate others. We built it to protect our world, to defend our right to live free among the stars. If we are challenged again, we will fight, but we will not become the same as those who prey on the weak. His words struck deep into the hearts of the people. Humanity had always dreamed of reaching the stars, but now they dreamed of something greater, shaping their place in the galaxy not as conquerors, but as survivors who refused to bow. Soon after, the Galactic Council sent an invitation. This ancient assembly, made of dozens of powerful civilizations, had long ignored Earth. Now they wished to hear from humanity directly. Many on Earth feared it was a trap, but the Council could not refuse. For the first time in history, a human would sit before the galaxy's leaders. The Star Destroyer itself carried the delegation to the meeting. Its massive frame entered orbit above the Council's homeworld, a shining reminder of Earth's strength. Aliens filled the skies with their ships, watching carefully. Some looked with fear, others with respect, and a few with anger. Inside the council chambers, alien leaders whispered as Admiral Reyes walked to the center. He wore no crown, no armor, only the simple uniform of Earth's fleet. His voice was steady, carrying across the chamber. "We are not children anymore. We are not weak. We are humans. We will not be ignored, and we will not be controlled. We seek peace, but if you bring war, know this: Earth will endure, and survival has made us stronger than you can imagine." Silence filled the hall. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council listened, truly listened, to a new voice. Some laughed bitterly, others frowned, but many nodded with respect. The humans had spoken with courage, not fear. That night, across alien worlds, stories spread like wildfire. Children of distant empires whispered about the humans who built a ship in secret, who faced a marauder fleet and won, and who stood before the galaxy without bowing their heads. The legend of Earth's first Star Destroyer was born. Back in the solar system, work did not stop. The Star Destroyer had survived, but its scars told the truth. One ship was not enough. Engineers returned to the shipyards beyond Neptune, beginning new designs. They learned from the battle, making weapons sharper, armor stronger, engines faster. Humanity's future would not depend on one guardian, but on a fleet. Still, the first Star Destroyer remained special. Veterans of the battle carved their names into its inner walls. Families of Earth sent letters and gifts, treating it as more than a machine. To them, it was a symbol, a monument to human unity. Admiral Reyes often walked its halls at night, listening to the hum of its engines. He thought of the lives lost in the fight, of the burden humanity now carried, yet he also thought of the hope that burned brighter than ever. He whispered to himself, "We were underestimated, but now they will remember us," and so the journey continued. Humanity had taken its first step into the wider galaxy not as victims but as equals, perhaps even as challengers. The future was uncertain. Greater wars might come, old empires might rise against them, but no matter what awaited, Earth was no longer a forgotten planet. They had built the Star Destroyer. They had survived the test of fire, and they had shown the galaxy a truth it could not deny. Humans were here to stay.